Hey guys, so how does AI literacy, regulation, and product management improve analytics? Let's learn from Bartosz, who has 2 decades worth of experience in data and who is now head of data analytics at one of the biggest home appliances producers in Germany. Hi Bartosz, what's up? How are you?
Hey Mario, thank you for being here. I'm Bartosz. Nice to meet you guys. Um, yeah, I'm today as a private person here, so I'm working for a big home appliance manufacturer, which is part of a big technology company, which is very famous in Germany and also abroad. And yeah, today I would like to talk with you about AI literacy, how to bring AI into organizations, how to bring it with regulation, also how to do product management, and yeah, also a little bit about entrepreneurship, I think. So, because I think I have a long journey. So, I started on the business side, let's say, and then I gone to, well, let's say, the dark side. So I changed to the technology side and work with data, with SAP data, and now with any kind of data. Uh, Implemented a lot of systems, then changed to the head of position, so leading people, enabling people, and this is still what I'm doing, what I love. My big passion is also to enable people outside the organization. To use AI, to use technology, because I believe it's a big
Game
push,
changer.
productivity. Yeah. Like you said, big game changer, productivity boost. So this is also why I founded About the Future. You see it here in the background. And my aim is especially for German customer, German speaking customers, enable companies, and yeah, the people are not fear to use AI, and also companies do not fear to use AI, because I think this will be this big change in the future. And yeah,
Yeah,
nice
very
to be
cool,
here.
very cool.
Yeah,
Perfect.
happy
And I
happy to
actually
discuss.
saw that you do a lot of things actually similar to how I like to do them. I've seen that you, for example, also invested like in the university ecosystem a bit. I think I saw you at CDTM, this like entrepreneurship hub once, or some connection. So it's great that you share your passion like with everyone that wants to get in, right? Like the companies, the students. That's very, very important, I think. Yeah, cool.
This was really an honor. So also surprised me a lot, but it was really fun too, because there are a lot of bright minds. So which I really believing, I think, in the future and the technology. It was really
Mhm.
fun to discuss with them, because it was very interactive. So you made your presentation there, but it took very long because there are a lot of interest and questions, and yeah, they would like also to learn how it's running in big companies,
Mhm.
and I think they also would like adapt their products in future, so that it serves also, yeah, so the companies and the humans. So it was really fun to talk with all these guys.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And like you had actually you introduced an interesting question. How does it work, right? And I mean, you're a good person to speak about that, like, right? Like, because if you're now like leading data analytics projects, and in the past you've also been like a product manager, what would you say, like at the moment, or what are like the biggest issues when trying to create some type of change, or what are the like the biggest challenges at the moment that you think like companies are facing and where you're trying to help?
Yeah, I think currently the focus and all the disturbances around, because AI is a hype topic, and now since 3 years, there's a lot of noise around, and yeah, I'm doing now, let's say, data in AI on the technical side now 13 years. Before I was on the business side, so I was the user and asker. So that's also why I can understand the demands of the people. And I'm something like a help to take away this noise and show, okay, what helps the companies, what helps the people, and what does not, and what is maybe a hype which will stay and what will not stay. So to have this focus around, and then taking off and let people experiment. Yeah, so taking off this pressure, let people experiment. Let's take use cases, for example, and in the later stage, sure, there could be something like implementation to processes, but maybe on the later stage. Yeah,
Hmm.
and yeah,
So you
this
mean
is something.
first it's about like making them understand what can be done, kind of? Is that
Yeah,
what you mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. So what is possible, what not? Maybe what is AI, where it comes from also, all the history, so the basics, let's say, so that everybody's on the same page. Let people play, let be creative, because they know the processes much better than we know the processes. So, and they can really make the change, because on the technical side, yeah, we will not change anything, because the big evolution which is now is coming from the business push. Yeah, so, and before also, if you're thinking about transformer models, so they already have been developed 2017 by Google, and now after 5 years, OpenAI developed ChatGPT, and then it was a big boom. And this was more because it's more accessible, easy accessible. Everybody can use it. Before it was something for so for tech nerds, for data scientists, data guys, and now it's available for everybody. And now the perspective changes. Business is running, and so the user side is running.
Yeah, and I love that you talk about the user side, because I think it's not so common if people are very technical that they talk a lot about the user side, but it's very important, right? As you said, like you do, as you told me earlier, right? You're involved in enablements. I also do a lot of enablements for clients, right? And that's like one of the things I see most, that people are getting, let's say, not so much frustrated by that they are not motivated or something like this, right? It's more that they don't really know how to connect to the interface of like this analytics or AI solution. So I think it's very important what you're saying, that the user side is there. And yeah, you're right. We saw it at ChatGPT exactly like this, right? Because it had a UI. Everyone understood. Everyone knows how to ask a question, kind of, right? And yeah, it's pretty interesting what you're saying. You said one other thing that I also found interesting, which was that you try to help people to see what part of AI is basically here to stay and what might be more of a hype. But how do you know that? Like, how do you differentiate for a company what is hype and what is not hype? Because I think that's something that most people don't really know how to tell, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think you need the technical expertise and also the experience. Because if you now look at the website, which has now a cool chatbot, you need to understand the technology behind. If it's just an API connection, because or if it's really somebody has developed the model and made it accessible. Because I think this is a difference. Because if it's just an API connection, it can be easy copied, or easy also removed from the market. Let's say if somebody's doing a copy or developing a new product, so disruption level is very high. So you need somebody who shows you, okay, what is hype, what is not. Same with the trainings you can book also with many providers. Now there are plenty of providers about AI trainings, and they made, for example, marketing before, and now they're doing AI. Everybody's doing AI. So they also need really to decide what is a help. And this I see as a mission of mine. So I guide companies, but I guide also people, learn the basics, let's say, and then try to decide by themselves a little bit. And so I'm sharing the technical expertise, and because I'm doing it a long time, and I'm doing it also in my free time, so I'm really passionate and sometimes nerdy, but it makes fun. So yeah, let's say like this. Yeah, so you need the experience. Otherwise, yeah, it's a big hype, and you need the passion, or you take your buddy. I can make also something like a buddy who helps you to have, let's say, a view in the jungle. Yeah, so because there's a jungle out there currently.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
see me as a ranger in the jungle. Yeah.
But that's a cool way to see oneself. And I actually think, like, also in some other discussions I had with people here on the channel, right? We talked about like how much of the in the company, how much which competences are most relevant, basically, right? Is it really that you know how to like like code a machine learning model, or like how to build a linear regression with Python? Is that really like what makes you special in a company, or is that maybe something that becomes commodity because you can just ask ChatGPT, right? I also am able to do that or learn through that at the end of the day, right? Or is it more like something that you said, where you connect with the people, where you try to understand their problems, maybe take away their fears, and then maybe also like see what is really the value driver, because that's something that I talked with a data scientist from Henkel about, right? He talked about the value canvas from
Mm-hmm.
strategizer.com, right? Where you also think about like, okay, what are we doing that really changes something for people in a positive way and like takes pain away or makes something better? And yeah, I think it's very important that people like you do that, for sure. Yeah. And you mentioned, I think, before we started the conversation, that one big topic that you are currently on is the whole regulation space, which I think is pretty much more present, I would say, in Europe than it is maybe in other parts of the world. But what
True.
are you doing there exactly, or why is that something that fascinates you?
Yeah, so regulation, let's say, is not my home base. So I'm coming more from the innovation side. So I would like to change something also, yeah, changing people mindset about topics. Regulation was really for me a challenge, but a challenge which I have expected. So because at the beginning I was oh no, so why I should do regulation because it's an innovation stopper, let's say. Uh, but I recognized, okay, it's also protection. Yeah, so protection for the business side, protection also for all people which are living in Europe, also to living the values. Sure, it's not a perfect regulation because it's still developing. So it's still not final. There's still a lot of changes which you need to adapt. And it's also hard to have an overview. There are also different deadlines for the EU AI Act, so of this regulation. And so you have something like forbidden practices or also general purpose AI, which is now coming active in August. And there you need to analyze and decide, okay, does it affect the business now? Does it affect the company or not? So taking off a little bit this hype. Also with the training side, so what needs to be trained to the people? Because there's also part of people needs to be enabled. Yeah, and there are a lot of rumors and pressure in the market if you see it LinkedIn and others. So it is something where you need to clarify what is now needed and what not, and what kind of prioritization is needed. And also, I think it's quite good because it gives you a transparency and overview. And also, I think this risk part is also quite important because if you look at the regulation, the two key drivers are risk and transparency. So this is everything they would like to achieve with this regulation. To the people's side, to the company's side, to save the market. So, and this regulation, I think you can also do your own way. Yeah. So I think we are doing now regulation different than we did it before, because you have all the tools to make it more user experience based. Yeah. So building, for example, bots which are helping you to consult users. Creating videos with avatars to explain what it is, so what it means. So I think 5 years ago it was hard to make this project. Yeah, so, but now I see it could be also a very fun project, because you can package it that people also consume it. Yeah, so on a voluntary basis, not only on a mandatory. And this is really cool. So we are working with a lot of these new technologies, tools, avatars, voiceovers, chatbots, and we try to make it most accessible as it is, so that people, if they have also AI use cases, they can test them. They can see, okay, what is possible, what is not possible. Does it affect EU AI Act or not? Because this is something which is quite complicated. If you see the science, what is AI, and then you see the definition of the EU AI Act, they're a little bit different. And
Yeah.
this you also need to adapt and explain, let's say. And but it's really fun, so it's quite active. So
And I think what's interesting about what you said is because I'm working at the moment on a research project with a professor from Stanford, and we analyze basically papers on what methods or approaches exist for human-centered AI, and exactly what like you notice is sort of also visible in the papers a lot. That like depending on where the papers are coming from, the definition of what human centered is quite different. And you see it also, right? Like in the US, they're all about the customers. So they're like trying to get the stuff as much, as fast as possible on the market. And, but maybe there's a little bit less attention to then like the potential biases and like other problems that are, I would say, maybe are a bit more focused in Europe, like, data privacy and all these other things. So we are a bit more like thinking about what could bad happen from that,
True.
beside like the fact that it is user centered, because I mean it's cool that someone can use it, but if it can hurt the person, right, at the same time, that actually becomes more of a problem than it was before when no one could use it, right? Whereas I have the feeling that in the US it's slightly different, that they are more focused on first the enabling parts, like making
Yeah,
it as
true.
easily usable and so on. But if you then, for example, would combine some ideas from there with like, let's say, the more critical thought process of like what we think here maybe in Europe, right? You could then also argue like maybe, right, on one hand, yes, you can use ChatGPT very easily. You can ask it everything you want, but maybe a problem is that you can become absolutely reliable on it, right? And you basically cannot think alone anymore because you don't know how to, learn anything. And yeah, I think both parts, right, are kind of important. And I guess that's what you're saying with the AI Act, that the risk part, right, that is something that's more unique to Europe. But I also think it's very relevant because there can be a lot of harm
Yeah.
created from this, for sure. Yeah.
So it's also developing very fast. Yeah? So how you can see it. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm more at home. It's a side of, let's say, US, because I think it's also, so I'm home in the innovation side and then regulated. But currently, I think there's a lot of danger in the market. Like you've seen last week, Veo has been released from Google. So the model to create videos, and it's unbelievable what is possible. So also on the voice side, you cannot really distinguish if it's real or not. So there, I think regulation is a good player for stability, also in the community. And also, so this is also why you need literacy, that people understand what's possible, what not. And so let's say it has a value. It has a value, but you need to be very sensitive how you balance regulation so that it will not be something like a showstopper for new AI startups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's an interesting point that you just brought up with the AI startups, actually, because that's something I always like to challenge the thought. And I mean, you maybe because you're in Munich, right? And you maybe have some like experiences from there as well. But I always hear the same sentence, like especially in like Europe, that Europe entrepreneurship is not as good, and so on because of regulation.
mhm.
My personal take is I'm not sure if I really think that's true too much, because I think there's lots of other underlying reasons why people are not deciding to either found or become part of a startup, which don't have anything to do with regulation. But what's your opinion on that? Do you really think that regulation, for example, the way it is really a blocker for entrepreneurship in Europe?
Yeah, I cannot speak for Europe. I just made now my experience in Germany.
Mm.
And so what was my biggest fear before I found it is all this bureaucracy and regulation. So, but for that you can hire people, sure, but I think you also need to learn by yourself. Yeah, so also how taxes are working, how to found, and this is quite complex. So this I can totally agree, and also the waiting times between. I waited now, I think 7 or 8 weeks until this. Until I received the confirmation for founding my company. But this is
Mhm.
also, it depends, I think, on the region, because I've heard from colleagues in Berlin it took 1 or 3 days. For me, it took now but I did it digital, so I thought it's faster, but it's not. And if you look on the regulation side, I think if they really played so hard, it could be a danger, because then you don't even did any innovation. So it's just regulation and governance, not really the innovation part. And I think the innovation part is even more expensive. Let's say the barrier to jump into the market is very high. Maybe they can even stop your business. I think if you would like to be compliant with all the regulation, and now we are thinking, is it just regulation for Europe? Maybe there are also other countries which you need to fulfill if you are working with other countries, or your product is served in other countries. My assumption is they will be nearly the same. Yeah. So because if you look GDPR, so I think Europe was also the first player, and then others adapted a bit, and you see some similarities, in a few cases. Sure, there are differences, but in total, it is similarities. But I have still help, because you see the regulation is still adapting. So I think now they are also, let's say, the EU is also seeing, okay, we don't over-regulate, because this can kill startups, can kill productivity, can kill ideas. So I think this is what they also now try to lower it down, so that we have still, let's say, unicorn possibilities in Europe, which is very important.
For sure. For sure.
Like you see, the TUM here in Munich, for example, Celonis came from the TUM. Yeah, so the founder of Celonis. If you're thinking now a decacorn, I think, or more, they are also now going into AI agents. I think it's one of the big players, and I think there are much more to, like DeepL or something like that.
But that's exactly what I mean. Like, because for me, a rule, or like something like saying bureaucracy is killing entrepreneurship, that rule for me can only be valid if every type of entrepreneurship basically is killed, right? And if you look at TUM, for example, or like not just TUM, but LMU, like the whole ecosystem there's tons of startups being created, like, and I'm always like asking myself, but if they can do it, like, what are they doing differently? Like, it's like, and then the inhibitor should not be the fact that it takes like I mean, if you're honest to yourself, right? Like, who can build a company in 2 months? Like, in the time where your business would be registered. Yeah. That I would say, yeah, yes, even if it would take 3 months, you could still work on the idea after 3 months and do like the prep work and so on before. So to me, it always sounds a bit more like an excuse for like other reasons. You know what I mean? Like, for example, like maybe because there's other things in Germany I think are more problematic in terms of what prevents you from starting a company. First of all, just like how you get raised, right? You get very raised with security mindset. If you want to like do some type of entrepreneurship, most of the times everyone around you is a little bit worrying about you and your financial situation, right, which definitely I think plays a role into that. Also, then just like the funding situation, right? There's just more money, I have the feeling, available in, like, for example, the US. And yeah, I sometimes have the feeling that these things, and also just the mindset of people like not wanting to leave their safe job, because like you get a lot of like benefits in Germany when you work, right? You're kind of protected from being fired. And I think all of these types of things, they also change something how people are thinking. And especially like people who are, for example, at a university like TUM, or also people who are like at CDTM or something like this, I just have the feeling they might be a bit less risk averse, and a bit more risk affine, and because they see the potential that they could get into. And my hope would be that we rather change in the society more in a direction where we get more of this like mindset, where we appreciate people who have ideas, who we fund them, we help them. And I think we could have all of that and still use AI, ACT, and other things as like a guideline for what should be done and what should not be done. But that's just my opinion. I just hear it so often and read it so often on LinkedIn, and I'm always like, I'm not sure if really like you can always blame every time bureaucracy and like regulations for not being innovative about a thing. Yeah,
definitely.
That's
yeah. So it's a mixture and it's also a passion. Yeah. So I think you can start. Yeah, so that's not a problem. I think if you're now getting bigger, maybe regulation come into the game, and you see some barriers. But even then, I think sometimes you have the chance to influence also the barriers by yourself, the company, or if you are the TUM or LMU or part of the other big companies. So they can also help you to have this barrier, yeah, and help you over this barrier. So yeah, I think the passion and to start and this mindset is the thing. And we have so many bright talents, I think. But in Germany, we never had this problem to have bright talents. I think our challenge is that the people will stay here in the country.
Yes.
Also in Europe, because currently you see US is quite attractive, and also the Emirate states are also quite attractive. They're investing a lot of AI. So
Yes.
now I think they learn everything here, very quality knowledge they can test, run, and I hope in future that they will also stay here, found here, make big companies, or yeah, working for other companies to transform them, and not going somewhere else. Yeah, so because there are brighter chances. So I think
Yeah.
there we need to change a little bit this innovation mindset. I think in Germany, yeah, that they're able to stay, dream big, let's say.
Yeah. And what would you say? Because you also started now your company. You mentioned we
Yeah.
can see it Bar to Future on the wall.
Yeah.
Is there anything where you would say that that would be something? Because what I always like to get to in these discussions is also, right, like what can people learn, especially maybe also younger people, because that's I think who would be more my target audience, right? And the one direction I always go is like, what do you think is like skills that people should have to become successful in an organization? Which is one very important question because not everyone will found. The other direction is always the question, like, if you want to become a founder, like, for example, you, what would be like best practices? I'm not sure which of the two directions you have more answers on. We can go into both if you want.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think you need first of all some time to orientate yourself to see what you love. So what is your passion about? So because I think if you later found, you need to do something where you're passionate because it's hard work. Yeah. So especially if you do it in a side business, so you need have an extra motivation to do that because you're sitting also sometimes on the weekends, on the evenings. So it should be fun for you. Yeah. So for example, in the past, I was also gaming. Yeah. Also as a student, I was gaming, and now let's say all this data and AI topics replace the gaming a bit because for me it's really fun to do these topics and then also to explain the topics. So for me, it's not just business; it's my passion, my fun. Same, I think, is also on the if you're working for companies. Yeah, so if you're making this classical corporate career, if you would like to do it good, you need to find something which makes you happy. Yeah, so and even if it's not perfect, yeah, so not fitting to you. My experience I made now with the UI, for example, in the past also with other projects, you can make your own things out of that. Yeah, so you can run this project by your own style. Yeah, and give you a footprint and then place ideas and just do it. Yeah. So what I've learned, so from my personal feeling, I'm not asking for allowance mostly. I'm asking for forgiveness. So I'm first trying it, see if it works. If it works, I sell it to the people, and maybe okay, some people are negative orientated, but mostly it works out. So and sometimes you're also building up your own job for the future because like this data culture thing or something like that, or data communities, or now this literacy part, AI literacy. So I was also one of the first movers in the corporate, which started to promote ChatGPT and all the things, how it can help. And so I think share the passion with other people because they can feel if you have passion, and
Sure.
then you're authentic. And I think I'm now 40, so I also worked 22 years. But after a while, so I changed from the business side, and because I've seen I was in procurement, so it was a good job, but it was not my passion. Then I changed to the data side, and I did it on my free time. So I met all the certificates, so in SAP in the past and all the other companies. And I thought, okay, this is fun because it's like in the past when I was young, uh, playing with computers, developing something, making, and now you will be paid for that. And this is really the biggest fun part. And data analytics, AI is my passion topic now. So it's not feeling like work. So it's quite fun in total.
It's cool that you say that. I always say that also to like my friends or my family sometimes, that I sometimes have the feeling like I'm getting a little bit paid for like doing my hobby or my something, like even playing around with things. You of course you have to think about like how can I do this that it has some value at the end of the day. But you're right, like if you're a person like that who likes to build new things, like come up with new ideas, I think it's a pretty cool field to be in for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And you don't even need to be a coder. So because there's so much room for people, we have also, I see more and more in companies, there are also a lot of product managers or also communication guys, which are selling all the technical stuff really to the users. And let's say on eye level, because I think if I look back 10 years, it was very technical. And so they ordered a report, we delivered the report, and then it's done. So now the people are asking to develop their own things, and we make more the enablement part. So, and for that you need communication people. So
Yeah.
we have completely new skill set, and I think this is what will also happen with AI. We will see a lot of new skill sets, not only data scientists, machine learning engineers, but also a lot of product management, but also communication roles. So transformation roles.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And what I'm just trying to think about is, I mean, you mentioned all of these soft skills, kind of that should like ideally complement maybe some sort of technical aptitude. So I will not call it a competence because like, right, or maybe you can even call it competence, right? But it's not like you can code, you know everything about like computer science necessarily. It's more that you understand the concept, right? And do you get anything where you would say that is absolutely mandatory, for example, for people to have? Because, right, I talked to some data scientists before, I talked to some people who were more on the strategy side. And oftentimes I had the feeling, right, there is not really a clear cut requirement, but maybe you can think of a few things that you would say you really would want to see in an applicant, for example, if you would be the person like deciding, hey, this person is coming into my team. What could they do to maybe be a bit more a better candidate than others, right? Because I think everyone can nowadays write on the CV,
Yeah.
I know how to use ChatGPT and how to maybe talk.
Yeah.
So that's quite a hard thing to compete with. But can you think of any creative ways that maybe people can make themselves more unique in a way to position themselves as candidates?
Yeah, so what I really like is a quote of Simon Sinek. So, or I think also Jonas also mentioned it. So don't hire for skills, hire for attitude. And this is also what I try to hire. So if I'm checking, for example, CVs, I'm not just listing by okay which university she or he is studying. So I'm looking more okay what kind of project he has done or she has done a little bit, and also so to see a little bit this passion. Yeah? So to have it in free time, maybe side projects or starting a podcast or have meetups or something, to see okay it's not only a job where somebody is forced to, is more a passion. So, and I think it is important that you place your passion into the CV. Let's say to be not one of 100. So to be unique a little bit. I think on the CV side it's quite hard. If you made the first made it to the first interview, I think, yeah. So be definitely open-minded. Yeah, so you need to show that you like to learn, to adapt a bit. Yeah, so because things are changing quite fast, and you don't need to be 100 perfect in coding. Okay, if you are now hiring maybe a machine learning engineer, data scientist, would be good. Yeah, but I think I'm also like people which are coming from the side, so which are joining Cross and have different views, different angles, let's say. And I think a big core skill is listening. Yeah, so listening to people, listening to the business side, and what they really would like to have, and then make the experience, and maybe also be open-minded and go there and look what they are doing. Yeah, so really in the daily life, because then you can really understand what their problems are. So let's say I would recommend adaptiveness. Yeah, so willing to learn, let's say. Then yeah, listening definitely, and if you can, try to sell. Yeah, so pitch your products. Yeah, so because even if you're a very good developer, if you sell it poorly, you cannot convince people. And same is valid for interviews. So yeah, so this you can train, I think. So even
For
if you're
sure.
introvert, yeah, so sounds a little bit crazy, but I think in my personal life I'm also more introvert. Yeah, so because I'm getting my power, let's say, in the nature, being silent, being alone. But let's say I have a switch in my brain, so if I'm under people, so I'm more extrovert, but it keeps the energy, let's say. And then I need some time for myself. So yeah, so be communicative, or try to be communicative as much as possible. I think is quite good in selling it. Yeah, and I think selling and giving a hook you can learn. Yeah, so there are a lot of YouTube videos also about TED Talks. So also what is the magic behind a tech talk, a good tech talk, because it's all about emotions, for example. If you
Mhm.
are hitting the emotional anchor in the brain of the others, so you're already in. Yeah, so then you can place what you would like to offer, let's say. And yeah, so the selling factor, I think. Yeah.
It's
So
important. Yeah.
yeah.
For sure, I agree. Yeah. And I think in Germany, maybe even more important than in other countries, I have the feeling like even if you don't want to be on a technical side, there's lot of times actually a lot of sales or marketing related jobs in Germany, also for bigger companies. So yeah, that's definitely something that should be done. Like even if it's internally selling or externally selling, always a good skill to have. I agree. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. Even if you don't sell a product, you can sell yourself, and
Exactly. Yeah.
it's good for your future. Doesn't matter if you're a founder or working in a company. So yeah,
Mhm.
you can underline, let's
Yeah,
say,
I
your
agree.
performance. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I'm just looking at the watch for a moment because I think, I mean, we had this little gap in the middle, but I always try to keep it like roughly at around 40 minutes. So, what I always like to ask at the end is if there's any other key message that you would want to send out to the world that is very important to you, then I would open up the room for that. Else, I would just yeah, basically close the round. So do you get anything else that you would like to share with the world?
Yeah, maybe so. Don't fear about AI. So use it. So I think it will change how you're working. Yeah? So, and it will also change how you're thinking. And AI will not replace you, but I think it's really true that people who are using AI are replacing other people. So use it as something like a superpower for you, and yeah, like your buddy, let's say, and also other technologies. So it's not only AI. Yeah? So you have robot process automation. So be very open-minded and don't say, I'm not using it, I don't need it, because I'm very good in these topics. It can help you. It can help you. And yeah, also for the company. So don't fear. So what I also like is, yesterday I read a post about AI just makes sense with data. In some case, yes, it makes sense. But now with the pre-trained models, sure, they're also basing on data. There's so much possible. Yeah. So I made this last 2 weeks so many things which I never made before. And there, for example, ChatGPT and others help me. Yeah. So to build up servers, your own servers, build up agents, coding, debugging. Yeah. So I'm not a coder, but it helped me a lot. Yeah. So I also had the basics for coding, but this can be really a good counterpart. So you use the tools, use the technology. Don't fall behind, let's say.
Perfect. Okay, cool. I think these are brilliant words to end. I'm very thankful for you being here. It was very cool. Also to have someone who like we met over the podcast and like share, I think
Definitely.
some passions like AI and product management and like thinking about AI being ethical in a way. So it was very nice to have you here. I'm pretty sure people can find your stuff on like Bart to Future or on your LinkedIn. I will mention everything in the comments for sure. So thanks for your time.
Yeah,
And
thank you. And so please follow me. So I'm posting now, also starting next week with all my videos. Been also inspired by you, Mario, with this GTA post. So you will get a shout out to the GTA post, let's say.
yes, perfect. Thank you very much, man. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Have a good one. Yeah. Bye bye. Take care.